Hello, 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 everybody. I so want to say good morning because we do so many morning shows, but I'm going to say good afternoon. And for some of you, I know around the world, it's evening. For some of you, it is morning because we're probably reaching the UK will be 10 o'clock at night. And I don't know where Australia is going to be, but first thing in the morning, I think we're all over the place here. So, anyway. For us, for me here in Florida, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another bottom brick. So we have a new bottom bricker. Now, for those of you who don't, you're wondering, what is she talking about? What is a bottom brick? What's going on there? You need to go to my website, which is rosemaryaltea.com, and you will see there are examples of our bottom brickers. So many of you I know want to join the Bottom Brick Club because for some reason or another it's turned out to be one of those things, it's like an exclusive club. You can only be a bottom bricker if we allow it. So here we have our lovely new bottom bricker, never been on the show before. Say hello, Jen.
Hi, everybody.
So
Thanks for coming on.
So Jen, how do you feel about being, well, you don't really know 100% yet, but the idea
No.
of being a bottom bricker, how do you feel about joining this exclusive club of bottom brickers?
Well, I feel very honored to be here, honestly. And I know, Rosemary, you're so busy in your schedule. It's so nice to be here and have this opportunity to get some of the cobwebs out of my life that I've been holding on to for a long time. So
Yeah,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
oh, well, you're very, very welcome. I know that you've been watching us for a long time now.
Yes.
So it's we're only too pleased to help. Just so you know, anyone can apply to be a bottom bricker. By the time we finish with this exercise, you might think twice about it. So don't decide before you see how this is going to work, please, everybody. We're going to see if we can, as Jen so aptly put it, we're going to see if we can sort of blow away those cobwebs. And the idea of the bottom brick exercise, which I've done for, many, many years, at least 100, I feel like I'm ancient at the moment. But anyway, we've done the bottom brick exercise for so long, for so many times. And with all of my students have to go through this process. But it is a really incredibly enlightening exercise most of the time. We are live, just to let you know, and so none of this is rehearsed. And poor Jenn is sitting here saying to herself, "Oh, we're going to stop. When are we going to start? When are we going to start?" But
Okay.
before we do begin, I would like to say hello to Chris, who I know she's in the background and sorting out all of she's sort of the equivalent of the cameraman. And of course, I would also like to say hello to Grey Eagle, who is, we've been working solidly all day, the two of us. We've had a great day, very, very productive and very great day. And we're hoping that this is going to be just another of those great moments and those great experiences. So, Jen, first of all, can you tell us are you a crazy person? Why did you volunteer for the bottom brick?
Well, I had never been on the bottom brick, as you mentioned before, so I didn't really know what it was all about. But I've always wanted to. I followed you for a long time, many years, and the bottom brick, I was sort of drawn to it because I wanted to see if you could work with me to try to overcome just the hurdles, like the habits that I've been going over and over again in my mind that have been so frustrating for me. And then I just would like to see if you could help get that out of my system so I can finally get on with things.
Okay, well,
So I thought good opportunity.
well, I'm not going to promise we're going to get them out of your system because that's not this idea. We don't want to rub anything away. We don't want to erase any part of your past.
Okay.
We don't want to erase any part of who you are, even who you are today. What we'd like to do, and this is what the bottom brick does, it does not erase the worries, the concerns, and so on. It helps us to understand where they come from.
Mhm.
And this is why we call it the bottom brick exercise. You know, when we're first born, we begin building, we build our life.
Yes.
We have many different influences around us, our parents, our siblings,
Mhm.
teachers at school, etc., etc. We have so many
Mhm.
people who influence us and help to build us, help us to build our character, help us
Mhm.
to build our strengths. But often in that process, you know, they also, those people who are around us who influence us so much, they're also often those people who can so easily, very often without
Mhm.
intentionally doing it, they can make us feel less.
Right.
So, you know, so feeling less creates all sorts of problems. It damages our self-esteem. It can
Mhm.
take our self-esteem away completely. It
Mhm.
damages our confidence. It, you know, it can create so many things. We don't want to erase those things. We want to learn from them. We want to
Right.
discover through them how strong we have been, even through all of the poisons that we receive from different
Right.
people in our lives. And again, it is not about pointing the finger. I want to be clear about that.
Mhm.
Anybody listening, it's not about us saying, okay, well, you know, my mother treated me this way, so therefore let's blame her. It's not about my father was you know, an alcoholic, let's blame him. It's
Mhm.
not about pointing the finger. It's simply, we're simply looking to see what sort of things influenced us,
Mhm.
how they damaged us if they did. And sometimes we'll look at the things that were good and that, you know, helped us and were positive. But
Mhm.
the bottom brick is about, you know, making sure that the foundation of our life, understanding where it came from and then correcting it. We kind of like the builder, you know, the bottom
Mhm.
brick is very wobbly, it's very shaky, and it sort of consequently shakes the whole foundation.
Mhm. Yes.
uh, what we try to do in the bottom brick exercise is we can take the bottom brick out, can look
Mhm.
at it, we can
Mhm.
put some nice putty around it or
Mhm.
cement or whatever, and put it back in place solidly. Now the foundation becomes more solid, we can
Ah.
deal with it better, we can create from the things that we've learned, we can create a much more solid, a much more confident, and a much
Mhm.
stronger person. So
Mm.
again, I will remind you and everybody else out there who's listening, this is not a let's point the finger at everybody else because that's
Mhm.
how I am this way. This is simply looking at what happened, and we're not judging anyone else. We're not pointing the finger because those people have their issues.
Yes.
And all we're doing is discovering how this came about. So my first question, so here we go, Jen, if you're ready, take a breath. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
Okay, all right. So my first question to you on this quest that we're on today
Mhm.
is I want to ask you. I want to, and again, this is not rehearsed, everybody. So, Jen, if I blindside you, just say, "Oh gosh," you know, don't be afraid to say, "I can't think," or
Okay.
"I don't know." All right,
Okay.
but
Thank you.
so throughout our lives, growing up as children, sometimes it's with our parents, it can be with an aunt or an uncle, it can be with teachers or whatever. At
Mhm.
some point along the way, it is inevitable that there are going to be people in our lives, even those who were the kindest and gentlest. It is inevitable that at some point
Mhm.
there's going to be that little drop of poison, that mean word, or that bad treatment, or that indifference or insensitivity,
Mhm.
which causes us, even if it's only momentary, it causes us to to feel less.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you if you can think back, and I know I've taken you a little off guard, but I want you to think back. Can you remember at all the first time that someone or something, it could be a situation that you were in, it might not even be connected to a person. Can you remember the first time that you were made to feel less?
Uh, well, there were a few times, but the one time, I guess that sorry, that I can think about is when I was growing up in my household, And my father was very like dictatorship in his regime, like Irish Catholic. It was his background. To give you a little history.
Okay.
So he would always say like children should be seen, not heard.
Right.
And and then she used to say like things like he was just stressed in his own, had his own issues. He didn't know any better. Like I realize that now, but
We're
at the
not
time,
pointing the finger.
no, exactly. I'm really not. And,
Okay.
but at the time, like when you're a child, you don't know what's happening and it
Right.
affects you more because you don't understand it as opposed to now. Like I've done a
Right.
lot of work to heal. But I guess when he says bad words like you're vulgar or like, if I speak back to him, which I spoke up a lot, I was quite an advocate for myself and I still am. I really got in trouble a lot, severely in
So
trouble.
can you give us an example?
Well, I guess at dinner one time I swore at the dinner table, like just as a kid, just because I thought it was funny, and my siblings laughed, and then my father like got really angry at me and said, don't say that word. So and then I got in trouble, and
What
then
was that? Is the extent of his anger? Don't say that word.
no,
No, okay,
no,
so again, we're not pointing the finger.
no, I'm not pointing the finger at all.
Can
But
you
then
can
he
you explain the consequence of you saying that naughty word?
he would just react to just hit me, and then it would be embarrassing and you feel like belittled and you feel like you're just like
And
it's
how do you
addressed.
think, how did he hit you? Did he lash out and punch you, or did he smack you across the head, or what? What was going on there?
Well, there he just like everyone was eating dinner, so he just reacted. He just went across the table with his hand. That's all, and just
And hit you where? Across
on
the
my
face?
face. Yeah.
On your face. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So aside from the sting and the hurt of your
Mhm.
father hitting you,
Mhm.
there was the humiliation, did you say?
Oh yes,
Being humiliated in front of your siblings.
yes, because all the dinner table went silent after that. Right,
Right.
my siblings were embarrassed for me, and they didn't know what to do because I'm the eldest. So I was like always the one speaking up more, I guess, for them. And yeah, and then that was it.
How old were you? Can you remember roughly?
I think I was probably about 10 years old.
So, but this had happened before, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was, now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Was it a natural part of growing up in that household that these things happened
Yes,
on a
frequently.
regular basis from the
Mhm.
time you can remember? Or was it a one-off, shocking, never had that before situation?
Well, that was a one-off, but no, it was a frequent thing that happened.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's look at this then. So you felt humiliated,
Mhm.
and was there any anger or frustration, or what else did you feel?
I think like at the time when what I can remember, I felt embarrassed and humiliated, and then you feel like you have no voice. So everything you say and you feel and you think, you feel like, I guess I'm not important anymore, or what I say doesn't matter. But I
Right.
was just joking at the time, like I didn't even, you know, you didn't even know what it meant.
Right.
So
Okay.
he just took it very seriously. He wanted me to
But
like,
if this is a regular occurrence
Mhm.
throughout, sort of even
Yeah,
before then,
that's right.
um, and again, I don't want to put words into your mouth.
No, no, no.
So,
You're right. What
uh,
you're saying, that's correct.
did that? I know because I had similar situations, but what I want to know is,
Mhm.
um, did it make you hesitate before you spoke? Because you said you were
Yes.
outspoken,
It made me shy.
right?
Yeah.
So you hesitated. Why?
Yes. I overthought. Because I didn't want to get in trouble, I suppose.
Okay. All right. So another question for you. I'm assuming your mother was around. You had siblings. You had a father. You were sitting at a dinner table. So you had other adults present. Was there a grandparent or grandparents? Was there,
Yeah,
who
well,
else?
my grandmother was around a lot, but at dinner, like there was just us. Like no one lived with us. It was just the five of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what was your mother's reaction? Can you
She just
remember?
looked embarrassed too, and she had her. I'm sure she told my dad off like later that night, but I didn't know about it. She didn't say
Are
anything
you
either.
sure that she told your dad off?
I don't actually know. I don't
Well,
know.
okay. So let's
Yeah,
not put
no, I'm
words.
not sure about that.
Let's not put words in her mouth either. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's look at it as far as we know what happened, as far as you know
perfect.
what
Thank
happened.
you. Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Now, going back to those times before when you were obviously, because this was not the first time, this was probably the first time it was so startling to you and
Yes, that's
unexpected.
correct. That's
But
correct.
living with this and living with this,
Mhm.
let's say, somewhat condemnation always, were you, what was your mother's reaction on those numerous occasions? Did she keep quiet? Did she stand up for you? What was her reaction?
Well, there were times when she did stand up for me. That I remember. Um, but there were times when she didn't, and
Oh,
either she didn't know about it happening or she turned a blind eye. I'm not
okay.
sure which.
So how do you feel about that?
I was angry. Yeah,
So,
and I felt betrayed.
okay. So anger and betrayal at your mother, right? What
Yes,
about your
both.
father?
Yes. Hmm.
The
Hmm.
same?
With
Or,
both, yes, with both.
okay. Who did you feel it most with? Do you know? Can you remember?
Um, well, I guess I lost a little bit of respect growing up for my mom when I was younger. Um, and, but I didn't. I don't know. That's a hard question. I think growing up, though, I was more angry at my father because there was a more serious moment when that happened again, and my mother didn't even know about it, and I was like, well, who's there for me? I'm like, why is it? Because I was always defending my sister, my brother when they got in trouble or they got hit. And I was always yelling to my mom to help my father, to get my father to stop doing that. And I felt like it was like several long minutes, like gone by. And then she finally came up, but I was the one yelling at my father to stop.
But it sounds to me that you were angry at your mother too,
Yes. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she didn't defend you.
Exactly. And I love them, like they're still in my life, and I'm an adult and I deal with them like I'm okay with it right now growing up. So I don't want
Of
to
course,
say it, and they didn't know anything different. So I'm not bashing them at any by any means.
we
Just to let
we
you know.
we know that. And we said, as I
Okay.
said right from the beginning, not about laying the blame. And the truth of the matter is that there are so many families, even today, there are so many families, struggling to feed
Mhm.
their kids, struggling to pay the bills, struggling to keep the household together. And we know absolutely that, people get frustrated and
Mhm.
they lash out even when they know inside themselves they shouldn't lash out. They lash out because they can't handle it any longer, or they can't deal with it any longer.
That's right.
However, knowing that as
Mhm.
an adult and knowing and understanding that does not change the fact
Right.
that you were made to feel less.
Correct. Correct. That's
Okay,
true.
so
Yes.
as much as we understand other people's behavior, okay, still you grow up.
Mhm.
Please tell me if you think that I'm incorrect in this.
I will. Okay.
You grew up feeling less.
Correct. Yes.
Did you, you said you were outspoken and you tried to stand up for yourself because obviously nobody else was doing that for you.
And it continually did. Yes.
Right. So, that sort of creates a little monster in you as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because I'm sure you would have much rather somebody else stand up for you than have to stand up for yourself.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Because you knew when you stood up for yourself, you know, you'd be misunderstood, or you get into trouble, or you'd be considered. And going forward in your life
Mhm.
and being outspoken, were you ever considered to be that troublemaker?
Always, yes. I'm the black sheep of the family. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And still. Yes.
All right. Now, let's see. Now let's go to your teenage years, and let's look at the first relationship you ever had.
Okay.
I'm sure you can remember it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how was that?
It was really good. It was a good relationship. Well, that relationship, I really, we got along very well, and it was a very close, intimate relationship. He was very kind to me. He was a tiny bit older than me, not like 5 years. But the boys that I dated, my father would watch us when they brought me home from the window, and they always felt scared of him. But that relationship didn't last. But the more serious relationship was my ex-husband that I did end up marrying.
Hold on.
So.
Let's not. Let's not move forward. I'm actually intrigued because it's it's sort of I'm so connecting with you because my boyfriends, nobody was suitable for me. My father used to scare them all off, and so on and so forth. So I'm relating to all of this, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people listening who are also relating to
Yes.
this, which is a really good thing. How this first relationship, which was a lovely relationship by the sounds of it, really working well. He was very kind to you and so on.
Mhm.
What happened?
Well, there was an incident that happened with my father again, and I wanted to tell him, and I couldn't. I was
You wanted
silent
to
for
tell, hold on, you wanted to tell who?
my
Your
boyfriend,
father or the boyfriend?
the boyfriend. Like, I wanted to tell him what happened, like, sort of to me. We had a fight or something, like my father and I had a fight or something happened. I don't remember the details at that time, but I remember I wanted to tell him the story of that, how strict my father was. And we sat in the car in a park, like for probably he waited an hour for me to speak, and I couldn't tell him. And then he broke it off because he thought I wanted to tell him I don't want to see you anymore. But what I want to tell him is that my father was very strict and all this was going on.
Okay. Tell me
So,
why, for an outspoken young lady
yeah.
who even at 10 years old would be outspoken at dinner
Oh,
table,
gosh.
can you think about this for a minute before you answer? Just give it a little thought. Why do you feel that you couldn't tell this lovely boyfriend?
I think because it was supposed to be a secret, not
But
to
you're
tell.
outspoken
It's a secret
and
not to tell
he's kind.
No, it's a secret though, just to not speak about what happened in the household growing up. So if I said something to someone an outside, like someone that's not in the family, then it would be out in the open, and I didn't know the consequences. I didn't want to get anybody in trouble in my family.
Did you have any issues with loyalty to your family?
Good to me, like,
Not telling, keeping the secret. Was it through loyalty, or was
yeah,
it because you were afraid of the consequences, or was it both?
I think for me it was loyalty and the consequences. It was both.
So even though you didn't receive loyalty from your mum
Hmm.
or your dad,
Hmm.
you still felt a loyalty.
Yes.
Okay. Was the loyalty born from uh, this unspoken, you don't tell anyone what goes on behind closed doors, you don't, or was the loyalty born from the love of your parents, do you think?
I believe the loyalty was born from that you don't speak outside of the closed doors.
Okay. You do know that this is so typical of so many families, and especially sort of in the past, sort of when people didn't have necessarily good jobs or good earning and so on, and I think if you look at your mum and your dad, they obviously, I think your dad could really benefit from the bottom brick exercise because he really had issues.
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to suspect, again, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'm going to suspect that, and please tell me if you disagree, that he was not, or your parents were not so harsh on your siblings as they were on you.
Correct. My father tried to with my sister, but I intervened, and then my
Okay.
mother got my mom.
Okay. All
And
right.
my brother, he couldn't. He went hysterical when he tried to. I stopped him again too, to tell him to stop.
Okay. So you were the protector in the family.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, all right, let's come to your second issue, the husband you told us was that was the brutal or emotionally brutal anyway relationship, would you say?
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Give us
I met.
little,
Oh, sorry, Rosemary.
no, go on. Give us a little insight into that.
Well, I met him when I was approximately 18, and it was like a whirlwind romance, and we got along very well. He gave me a lot of attention, and he was kind to me, and a lot of accolades. Telling me all these nice things. He would write me love letters.
So you were getting from him things you never had from your parents or from anyone else, really.
Correct. Yes, correct.
And so you were like this little flower blossoming under his praise and trusting.
Yes.
Let's use that word, shall we? And
Yes, sure.
him.
Yeah, that's a perfect word. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
correct. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so we dated, and my father again didn't approve of him right away, and then he just kept coming around all the time, and we kept dating. So he kind of grew on the family, and they got to know him better.
And that was also good for you because here's a man who loves you enough to persevere.
Yes, and he also defended me. Like, he would speak up for me in front of my parents as well, like when something went on in the
Wow,
household.
that's big.
Yes.
So where did it go wrong then? Because it obviously did.
Yes. Yeah, it went wrong. Yeah, right down the mudslide for sure. It went wrong when I guess I started getting more confident with him, and then we got our own place together. And I don't know if he just didn't want to commit or what happened, but we ended up getting married, but he wasn't committed to the relationship for pretty much the whole relationship after we got more serious. And I think with his own issues, he just felt like it's just from his that he didn't want to be
Okay, let me
just
ask
with
you
me.
this. let me ask you this. So when you first met, you were obviously shy, you were timid, you were glowing under his praise.
Yes.
He must have felt like a king, the knight in shining armor come to save the damsel in distress.
Correct. Yes.
But then the terrible thing happened. The really terrible thing happened. Because then, under his attention and under his glow, your confidence built and you found your voice.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, and that was a gift he gave me, actually.
But do you think that was also what destroyed the relationship?
Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Right. Because you were now fighting with him, arguing with him, disagreeing.
Bossy. Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
You were finding yourself, you were finding your voice.
Yes, and I was finding faults in him, and I was very judgmental, and I know the part I played too. Like, I know,
I'm glad that you said that, because that I would have pointed that out to you, because when you first find your voice, and I want everyone who's listening to remember what I'm saying, when you first find your voice, boy oh boy can it be loud and not necessarily kind. When you find your own voice, you feel free, and you don't even realize very often that finding your voice doesn't mean that voice has to be harsh. You can
Right.
find your voice in kindness and gentleness, but that's not what happened with you, is it?
Not at all, no. And I
You-
didn't know, like, I didn't know that because
Right.
I was so, we're sort
But
of
at
like,
that
yeah,
time you were harsh and not gentle. You were definitely judgmental,
yes.
which we can understand. No pointing fingers here, right?
Right.
So during this time, we've talked about relationships, but what about work and work relationships and you know, those things too? Here you are, you're extremely confident
Mhm,
now. You've
mhm.
found your voice, you've become you, you've flowered. Except that, what?
Except that, uh, so that's the problem because I keep going into the, like, the relationship's going well and then um it doesn't.
Why?
And then same with work too.
Yes,
Um
this is
I
why.
it's almost like I don't know if I get restless almost, or I feel like I need a change, or if I feel like I've outgrown the situation. There's something that changes in my energy, and I feel like I need to do something different all the time, and it's like I'm doing well in that situation, and I don't know, uh, almost like I just lose interest, or I just don't want to, or I almost talk myself out of it, like I can't go any further with it. Like going from that job to become a supervisor, I had it in my hands. They offered it to me, like, and then I went back in and panicked and said, "Oh, I want to stay where I am," kind of thing.
And I like that you said panicked.
In my mind, like I was like, and I might get anxious. I was like,
Panicked. Panicked.
mhm,
So, as much as you've got this self confidence now, you've found your voice,
mhm,
you can deal with pretty much anything you think, right? You're feeling good. You go into
yeah,
relationships and you're feeling good and you're working hard at them.
mhm,
The moment that you are threatened, I'm just asking you to think about what I'm saying. I'm not
okay,
saying it's a fact, but I'm
okay,
helping you here, trying to
okay.
help you
Thank
here
you.
to figure it out.
Okay, okay,
The moment that you are threatened with somebody wanting more, or that you're expected to be more,
mhm,
do you think that's when you start to panic? And panic takes on different forms. Panic can be, okay, I'm done with this. You can convince yourself, yeah, I don't want this anymore. I don't like this anymore. But really, what it is inside is that someone is expecting you to be more than you feel you are.
I never looked at it that way, actually.
Well, I know, but
But
I'm asking.
that's the whole
This is
point.
why,
Oh my
Jen,
gosh.
Jen, this is why we do the
Oh
bottom
gosh.
brick. This is why we're doing the bottom brick.
I state the obvious.
Now, let's go back again. You're a young child.
Mhm,
You've got your two siblings. You are protective of them.
mhm,
You get angry when your mother doesn't respond as you feel she should, which of course you're right, she should protect you. You get angry when your father is dismissive of you. All of this, both from both parents, we can say, well, your dad was the bully, your mum just was
mhm.
passive,
Right.
but she's just as responsible for what happens here. Because had she stood up for you and said to your father, no, 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 she's too special, she's too rare, you don't treat any of the children like this, you would not have felt less,
No, that's true.
right? So you've carried this frustration, this anger, and so on with you, and it
Mhm.
has affected how you deal in relationships.
Yes, it has. It's affected my health too. It's affected everything.
Well,
Mhm.
it affects your life.
Yeah.
When it's when somebody says something, it can be your mother not defending you, it can be your father giving you a smack across the face, it can be anything at all. It can be a teacher who looks down on you and says you spelt this wrong and this wrong. It can be any small thing at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like a tiny drop of poison.
Yes.
Now, when we're first born, we are like this pure, beautiful glass of water. It's pristine. We
Mm.
come to this earth absolutely pristine, but pretty soon, unfortunately, we get outside influences. A little drop of poison here, a little tiny drop of poison there. We don't realize that we're absorbing it, but that is what we're doing,
Mm.
right?
I
And
believe that.
every
Yeah.
time we absorb a little drop of poison and we don't deal with it because we don't know how to deal with it,
Right.
every time we absorb it, that bottom brick starts to rattle and shake, and the foundations of our lives and the foundation that we're trying to build shakes and rattles and so on.
Yes.
As it shakes and rattles, we might, on a conscious level, not realize it, but on a subconscious level, right, we realize it's shaking.
Yes.
We're not sure about ourselves. We're not sure who we are. Gosh, I could be a supervisor, but what if I fail? It's not necessarily a conscious thought,
No.
but it's embedded in you.
Yeah.
You drank the poison, right?
Yes.
So it's
Correct.
embedded in you.
Mhm.
And so it's like sitting in the car with that wonderful boyfriend, and you say it was about loyalty. And I
Correct.
do think that it was not so much about loyalty, but being afraid to speak the truth, being afraid
Yes.
to open up and to let
Yes.
anybody into your life.
Yes.
And the more you sat in that car, the more you panicked,
Yes. Oh, absolutely. 100%.
right? But
Yes.
I don't believe that you're panicking about revealing the truth of your family as much as panicking as to what if he can't look at me the same way? What if he doesn't see me the same way?
The
What if
judgment.
he sees what my parents saw? What if he sees me as less?
That's exactly true. Yeah. No, that's exactly what I think. Like
See,
still
so
today.
on a subconscious level, right?
Mhm.
Every time you find a new relationship, you find a new job, every time you strive, and people who know you think you're very confident, but underneath all of that, not so much, I think. Not
Right.
so much.
Right.
Because you have these little panic attacks of, it's basically, what if?
Yes,
What
that's
if
true.
they discover this, that I'm this horrible, dirty water that's tainted?
Mm.
What if they discover that I'm not nearly as smart as they think I am? What if they discover that I'm
Yeah.
less?
Actually, those questions are I always ask myself, like the mask is almost off. Um, yeah, because a lot of people don't know most people don't know all the details, like all the details that happened. And they'd be shocked if they knew.
Well,
Because
yeah.
they see me and they're like, "Oh, nothing ever happened to you your whole life." Some people will have actually said that to me. "What?
And
You've been." I'm
Jen,
like,
Jen,
"Okay.
there are a lot of people who go through what you've been through. There are a lot of people who've gone through worse.
Yes, that's true." Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're less affected. It does
Mhm.
not mean that there's a certain instance that threw you off kilter. You're not in
No.
balance with yourself or with your life.
Mhm.
So it's not about other people have worse and other people have less or whatever. It's not about that, and it's not about pointing
No.
the finger.
No, I
It
agree.
is about understanding. So, okay, you said you never thought about it like this before, right?
Mm.
This being afraid of taking the next step, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a work relationship, personal relationship, a new job, it doesn't matter what it is.
No,
You freeze
I do.
when it comes to taking that next step, that
Mhm.
next scary step.
Mhm, mhm.
You can be going along beautifully in a relationship and everything's going well, but then what if? And sometimes you even sabotage yourself.
I do. Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. I know I
Right?
do. And that's what's frustrating. Like, I know I do this to myself. I'm like, what am I doing? And why?
What, let me see then. Let's have a look at this now.
Okay.
Why do you think that this has gone on through your life? Not why your dad or your mum or any of those things. Why do you feel that you're holding on to this fear?
Hmm. That's a good question, Rosemary.
We've explained how it's come about.
Yes.
We've explained, we've gone through the process.
Yes.
We've gone through the fact that you see yourself as a protector, certainly.
Yes.
Okay, so why do you hold on to the fear? Because it's a fear of failing. Are you afraid of failing yourself? Are you afraid of failing others? Why do you think you're holding on to the fear of being the person you really want to be?
I think I hold on to the fear because I don't want to be unsuccessful, and I want to live my purpose in my life. And
Okay,
I feel like I almost have that loyalty spiritually, and that I don't always know what the right decision is.
okay. Why are you holding on to the fear,
Hmm.
do you think?
I guess I don't need to hold on to the fear. I don't know why I keep holding on. I think because for me, I think it's because I don't want to. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm still afraid of being judged and criticized and then disappointing other people. Still.
And disappointing yourself as well.
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Okay, I'm
Deeper.
coming back.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to come back to you because
Oh my gosh.
I'm pinning you to
Um,
the chair
yeah,
now.
I know. uh, why deeper? Maybe I'm still afraid to get in trouble. I think because which doesn't make sense actually because I won't get in trouble.
Well, you do get in trouble every time a relationship falls apart. You're in trouble because now
A
you're all
con
by yourself again. Every
a
time
con
you leave a work situation, you're in trouble because now you got to find another one.
no money. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but here, let's go back, shall we? Let's go
Okay.
back to
Okay.
your childhood to see why you're holding on to your fear. Okay.
Okay.
Was there any trust in your household?
No.
Was there any faith that
There
someone
what?
would take care of you in your household?
Uh, yes, they did take care of me.
Emotionally?
Oh, no.
Was there any faith when you sat down at the table that it wouldn't happen again?
No, I didn't know what to expect.
Right. Did you have any belief in any one day in your childhood being a happy day?
I I wasn't sure. There were happy days,
There was
but
always, of course there were,
I
but there
didn't
was
know like
always
when it would
the
happen.
walking on eggshells, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know this because this is my life too. So
Mhm.
it's easy for me to figure you out because I've already
Thank
figured me out.
you.
But the people hold on to fear for different reasons. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think, and I'm going to throw this at you, and I
Okay.
want you to tell me if I want it to either resonate with you and
Or
you say
not.
that's it, or you say no, that isn't it. And it
Okay.
doesn't matter because
Okay.
we know we have people listening. We're not about to prove anything to anyone. We don't care. But okay, so let's see if this resonates with you. So growing up, you've not only not had trust and faith in others, but you don't have trust and faith in you.
That's true. That resonates with me. That
So
resonates with me.
this is why you're holding on to your fear. So you can continue the rest of your life never believing in yourself, never trusting that you could be a good person, a positive person, a successful person. You can believe that every time you open your mouth, you're likely to say something that is offensive to other people, because I know that you do that.
Yes.
Or you can take a really good look at yourself. Do you want to be a nice person? Do you want to be a good person? Do you want to be the kind of person that you would like? If I didn't know me and I met me for the first time, would I like me? Do you want to be that person?
I want to be the person that people like, yes, but I don't want to be the person that is like a pushover or that's like
See, there
not
you
genuine.
go. And that right there is the fear coming through.
Oh my gosh. You're
Did
good.
you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't hear my voice of fear before, but I just did when you said
Did you
that.
hear it?
I did.
I don't want other people to take advantage of me. Fear. I don't want people to think I'm a pushover. Fear. I don't want people to think that I don't have a mind of my own. Fear.
Mm, gosh.
And so you've gone from the pendulum swung this way when you were a kid, not being able to do anything about that, to swinging way over here to the almost aggressive and determined, no one is going to ever do that to me again. No one's
Yes.
going to make me feel less again. So you become defensive.
Yes, I can be defensive. Yes.
Fear, 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 fear.
Oh
You are
gosh. I'm just a walking fear ball.
well. Okay. No, you have to understand that what has happened to you in the past has created this defense mechanism. So anytime someone challenges you, anytime someone puts a situation in front of you, you're on the defensive. You're immediately thinking, no, I'm not going to let them do that, or no, I can't do that, or fear-based.
It actually takes my breath away too. I'm almost like, oh my gosh. And then I panic and then all those thoughts come through and then I self-sabotage myself actually.
Well, that's what I said to you earlier. You sabotage every situation you're in because you are so afraid to become what? Nothing? That
No,
you become
successful.
less.
I'm so, yeah, because I don't want to go back there again.
But my darling, this is where trust and faith and belief in yourself comes in. And what I feel is that we should find you a good mantra to say every day, because this is not going to solve itself overnight. All we've done here today is to show you the mirror, to show you what happened, why it happened, the result of what happened. Now you have to work on it. Now you have to learn to build relationships, knowing every time you get defensive, you got to step back. I've done it again. I have to trust in myself, right? Every time you are outspoken and you sound rude or aggressive to other people, you got to take a breath. I'm doing it again. I'm allowing my fear to make me react. So what I'd like you to learn to do is before you open your mouth, before you allow your thoughts to go churning around, feeling less and less and less, right? What I would like you to do in order to combat this fear and to find a normal, successful and a wonderful life, what I'd like you to do is to, before you even have a thought, when you start to think it, take a step back. When you want to say something, just take a breath.
Okay.
Just take a step back, take a breath, and think for a moment what it is you're going to say. Because you are so reactive, you're such a reactor, you know, I mean, it's so easy to press your buttons. Because of that, because you react, it's going to be hard to step back and take that breath. But even as you are reacting, I want you to think, Rosemary says I'm not to react.
Okay.
Right. It's not doing me any good to react. When I react, I don't think clearly. When I react, I'm showing that I don't trust myself. I'm showing I don't trust the situation. When I react, I'm showing I don't trust anybody else. It's about trust and having trust and having faith and belief in yourself. I think that you can do it, but it means working at it every day. Do you think you can do that? Do you think you can work every day? Give every day at least 10 minutes to think, how did I behave today? Was I able to
I can
let
do
go
that.
of my fear? Was I able to let go of my fear and be who I want to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
Every day you should ask
I'm gonna,
yourself that. 10
I'm gonna,
minutes every day.
okay, I'm gonna commit. I'm committing to it. I'm gonna do it for sure.
Okay, so now let me ask you this. We've been talking here for a little while. Are you any clearer about why you overreact? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is there any light at the end of this tunnel at all? And if there isn't, that's also fine.
No, I agree with you. And there is light at the end of the tunnel.
So do you
Even,
find that you've had some revelations here?
yes, a big revelations. Thank you.
And what is it?
That I have to let go of my fear because my fear is getting in my way of my path, actually, of my purpose too.
Of your purpose?
And if I don't trust myself and use my gifts like I want to, then I'm just not. Then I'm going to keep doing the cycle over and over again with every area of my life, actually.
With every single area of your life. You know, if you can't trust yourself, and it's easy not to trust yourself, especially when you've been brought up the way you were, the way I was, the way many people, you know, it's so difficult to trust yourself because you're still that glass of water that's inky and dirty and poisoned, and on some subconscious level, that's still how you feel.
Right, true. That's
Very,
true.
very hard to understand that, no, that's other people's poison. That was not anything I did.
Yes.
I drank the poison because it was forced on me, but that's
Right.
not anything that I did. But then it gets to a point where you're starting to create your own poison
Yeah.
and becoming more
Yes, exactly.
and becoming less and less of who you want to be.
Mm.
So it's sort of like this cycle that goes on and on and on.
Right.
But if you don't learn to trust you, how are you going to expect anybody else to trust you?
Well, that's actually, and I know that logically, but yeah, I didn't understand it fully till we spoke. But that's exactly true. I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in order to be who you want to be, you have to have a certain amount of self-confidence. And if you have no trust in yourself, that won't happen.
They go
Now,
together.
the great Rosemary Altea, I can tell you that I trust that you can learn to trust in yourself.
Thank you.
I trust that if you think about this, you're going to have to watch this again and again and again, and
I know.
listen again and again. But I trust that you can learn to do this. And you know, it's like somebody says, oh, you know, just bake a chocolate cake, and you can't make a chocolate cake if you don't have all the ingredients, or you
Correct.
don't have the knowledge of how to stir, how to blend, etc., etc., what heat to put the oven on, how long to leave it in for. You need all of those directions. So when I say to you, you have to learn to trust, it's like somebody saying bake a cake and you don't have the ingredients.
Right. Right.
But part of the ingredients here, listening to this,
Mm-hmm.
really understanding that through nobody's fault, no finger pointing,
No, no.
you were poisoned. Your bottom brick, your foundation, the foundation of your life
Yeah.
was shaky from the very beginning,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can trust that, then you can say, let me be a builder.
Mm.
I want
I
to
like
build the
that.
foundation, make it solid. In order to do that, I have to spend 10 minutes of every day
Yep.
looking back at my day, looking back at the amount of times I reacted, looking back at the amount of times I wish I'd behaved differently. I wish I'd reacted differently, or I wish I hadn't reacted at all.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is, so looking at that for giving yourself 10 minutes of every day, see what the day looks like, learning to, before you even open your mouth, right,
Okay.
take a breath. It's only going to be for us for a few seconds.
Yes.
Take a breath.
Okay.
How do you want to deal with this? Do I want to react because I'm so defensive and I'm not going to let anybody take charge of me ever again,
Mm.
which is the fear
Yes.
rising its head against,
Yeah. Yeah. It's horns.
or take a breath. Okay, it doesn't matter what they do to me, it matters what I do to myself.
Yes. That. Yeah. That's resonates with me. Thank you.
People can only do to you, Jen, what you allow them to do. So
Yeah.
no one can treat you badly if you don't allow it. Nobody can make you feel less unless you're so defensive and you put yourself wide open there for them to have a go at you,
That's true. That's true. That makes
right?
sense.
So
Yes.
taking a breath means step back, trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
trust, 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 trust.
Trust. Yeah.
No one's going to make you feel less unless you allow them to.
Mm.
And not allowing them to does not mean you're not getting in my space.
Fighting. Yes. Yes.
Not
Right.
allowing them to means gently, determinedly.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I'm not going to let you affect me. I'm not going to let anyone affect me. This is who I am. I'm going to be the best that I can be. And trust that you can do it.
I love that. Thank you.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
Relieved.
That's it? Relieved? Anything else?
And happy that like you enlightened this for me.
Oh, but darling, that's who we are. That's who we are. Now, I'd like you to do something for me. I'd like you to work on this. Step back, take a breath. I'd like you to learn to accept who you are, warts and all, because we've all got faults and failings, sweetie, right? Warts and all, this is who I am. I'm going to be the best that I can be. And then maybe in a few weeks, a couple of months or something, we're going to have you back on.
Okay.
And we're going to take a really, really good look at how you've been doing.
Oh, no. You're
So,
holding me accountable.
of course I am. What do you think
That's
I'm going
good.
to spend all this time with you to not hold you accountable? Of course I am. Because otherwise, the lesson isn't learned. And I am sure that everyone listening to you sort of resonates with your story in one way or another. Every one of us is poisoned, has these little drops of poison we just don't know how to deal with. And listening to you and listening to what we've talked about is going to be so inspirational to others. And when we come back in a few weeks' time, whenever we can figure it out, we're going to be actually saying, okay, so how did you do? And everybody's going to be on edge because they want you to do really, really well, as do I.
Thank you. I will do well.
I'm glad. All
I'm
right.
determined.
So take a breath, Jen. That's it for today, everybody. Our bottom brick. I think we were successful. I think so. Don't you think so, Jen?
Yes,
It wasn't
thank you
so
so much.
painful, was it?
That's
It
really,
wasn't so awful.
no, that was
Was
so
it?
good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So we're going to, as I say, if anyone listening wants to be a bottom bricker, Jen, you're a part of our team of bottom brickers. You are in the club. Anyone who wants to be a bottom bricker, please email us, Chris at rosemaryaltea.com, KRIS at rosemaryaltea.com. Put in your subject line bottom brick. Or you can email me, rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. It'll get to the same place. And if you want to volunteer, or if you simply want to do this exercise, but you don't want to do it publicly, we can do that as well. It's just that this is the way to get it for free, just saying, right? Right, Jen?
Yes.
And I promise, I think Jen will agree, I think it's a worthwhile exercise. It's a really, it opens your eyes to the way that you've been holding on to things, why you've been holding on to things. And it, in some ways, I'm hoping, Jen, I'm hoping for you that it will set you free.
I feel a big relief in my heart too when we
Good.
spoke too.
Good. It's been wonderful having you on. I just would like to say thank you to Chris. Of course, she's in the background there somewhere. I'd like to say thank you to Grey Eagle, of course, because you know I wouldn't be as good at this if it weren't for him. Yeah, we're not going to go there. Okay. So we look forward to seeing you again. Jen, thanks so very, very much for being our, I don't know how many bottom brickers we've got, but you're one of them. Thanks for being a bottom bricker. We love having you in the club, and we'll be hopefully talking to you in a few weeks, 2 or 3 months or something,
yes,
to
for
see
sure.
how well you're doing, because we're not going to let you off the hook. We are hoping, I'm sure we're all of us hoping, for some really positive and some really great results.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Say bye-bye, Jen.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Until we see you next time, whenever that might be, please, everybody, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. Bye-bye.